I guess we'll call the meeting to order. It's 1 o'clock. Roll call, Marcy,
William Metzinger,
here.
Martin Vitek,
Here.
Tom Reamer,
Here.
James Schultz,
Here.
Thomas Trudeau. Here.
Approval of the agenda. There a motion to approve it?
Move we approve the agenda.
Motion by Marty Vitek to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom Reamer seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Approval of
Hey,
the.
Bill,
Yes? Yes?
this is Gary. I'm on the phone. I'm heading to Milwaukee, so I'm on the phone.
Okay. You were that 661 number?
Yes. Yes,
Oh, okay. Thanks, Gary.
you're welcome.
Approval of the October 13th, 2025 minutes. Is there a motion to approve this?
Oh, no.
Tom Reamer made a motion to approve it,
I'll second.
seconded by Tom Stoll. Is there any corrections or deletions? Does anybody got any questions? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Public comments. Want to go from, is there anybody online that wants to talk?
We have Pat Kinney and Gary online.
Okay.
This is Pat. When you get to the highway or the agenda item regarding the postal service, I would like to add a few comments regarding dealing with the post office at that point. So I'll wait till then.
Okay, Pat. Public comments, that's no other public comments. Report by the highway commissioner.
All right, employees, we are still one down on the full time. We're gonna start advertising again for that, see if we can get any applications. Otherwise,
Who left?
well, it was from when Bruce retired.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that open. one.
Yeah. yeah, Kim moved into Bruce's slot, so it left that opening, so. We did interview yesterday for a part-time position. If you remember, about a year ago, we did authorize a part-time position. We have had a couple applications in that time, but nobody was real interested, nobody that really fit the bill. So we did get application, we interviewed and we plan to offer a position for that. So that'd be a 16-hour a week position. So otherwise, yeah, we're sitting good. We hired a new employee back in November, Matt Lippo. He's plowing 112, seems to be learning. I mean, there's always a curve, but he's doing is what we expect right now. He's coming along. So, yeah, it's going well. Any questions on employees?
So the guy that you interviewed or person you interviewed yesterday, does he seem promising?
Yeah. Yep,
And did you interview anybody else for that position?
we have not. We've taken maybe 2 or 3 applications and they just really didn't fit what we were looking for, so. Yeah,
Went for that part-time job in the shop, I think.
yeah, part-time, just around the buildings, grounds, yeah. Yep. Work schedule, as you probably could see, we've been fair to busy plowing snow this year, a little different than the last 2 winters, so. The guys spend most of their time doing that or cleaning and greasing their trucks or hauling salt or sand around to the various sheds and towns. Towns are all running out of sand already, so they're looking for more, so. We do plan to do some brushing down on GG south of Clam Lake this winter if we get a chance here with. Looks like the next couple weeks, it might be too cold to do a lot of outside work. We'll have to see how it goes, but
My telephone said that a week from Thursday, it's gonna be 35 degrees.
okay,
That's what it says.
I'll take it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, next week, there's a good chance we'll get our excavator down there with the tree head on it and start cutting some trees back on GG south of Clam Lake, so. Other than that, doing a little patching, mostly plowing. Anybody have any questions on work schedule? I mean,
How did we ever do anything on La Pointe, on Madeline Island? Did we ever finish that project, or? I know we were supposed to do something in the fall.
Yeah, so it is substantially complete. The riprap portion is all complete. In the spring, it's just to fix up a little bit of the dirt and plant the grass. Otherwise, it was, a big portion was completed, yes. Yeah, it went well. They had a nice window there in September, October, maybe even into November a touch, and yeah, they were able to. Nelson was pretty worried he wasn't gonna be able to get it this fall, but the weather worked out, and I think it went very well for him. Some more questions, I'll move on to construction, so we talked a little bit about that. Yeah, all the other projects wrapped up, the Highway 13 project, the state finished that up right into winter there. I think it's mostly complete. Our county projects all were completed. We paved that section on GG from Highway 13 down to Quarry Road. So that is all done. Upcoming construction. This year we're scheduled to do GG from Spider Creek, basically about 6.5 miles south to County Highway M. That is a FLAP grant funded project. It's a little issue in the air right now. Started last week. I got a phone call from DOT saying they want or need to push off the bid date. We're supposed to bid in March. They want to push that bid date into May or June. I told them I do not like that. I mean, you start pushing them bid dates off, the prices go up. You want to bid them in the winter months for better pricing.
Yeah.
They're telling me that the federal money allocated for that is not released yet, and they cannot bid it until it gets released. So I have a meeting with them tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock to talk about that. And also, we applied for a FLAP grant for repaving on Madeline Island coming up. It was a bit of a disappointment. One morning I got an email saying we were awarded the grant, and I was pretty excited. The grant application was for 4.2 million. And I got an email saying I was awarded, so I was assuming I was awarded the whole thing. That was about 7 a.m. At 3 p.m. they sent another email saying, oh, by the way, the award is only for the design portion of the project, 600,000 for design. So I also am in a meeting with DOT tomorrow at the same time at 3, talk about that. Dan also placed it on the finance agenda for Thursday to discuss it, whether we should consider accepting that grant or not. I'm unsure what to think myself as of right now. I mean, my initial feeling is we should accept it, take the grant, get the project designed, and use that design to apply for grants into the future. For Madeline Island, it's very expensive to pave on Madeline Island. But there could be other things to consider that we need to think about, so.
But we haven't been turned down.
Well, I mean, we're approved for the grant for 600,000 for design of the project. I need to get a hold of them, and maybe DOT will know tomorrow. I need to see. FLAP is generally 80-20, 80% federal money, 20% county dollars. The last FLAP here on GG got funded at 100%. So, it's a possibility that they funded at 100% for design again. You'll see. If that's the case, then we should take the money. There's no county expenditure. But We have 90 days from last week to decide on if we're gonna accept it or not, so. We have a little bit of time to kick it around and see all the details for sure before we commit one way or the other.
So this would take county money as well, the 600,000 part of it.
As applied for, yes, we would have to pay 20% of that.
Okay.
Yes. But as I said, the last flap award we got, they gave it to us at 100%, up to a certain dollar amount.
I was thinking if you could get the design done and leave it on the shelf till you get some money.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We'll try for more money with the design. The design, they have it funded in 2028. So that means it wouldn't be designed till 29, 30. It's getting a little bit far out. I mean, to start looking for other grants, be ideal if it was designed in the next 1 or 2 years instead of further out, but, yeah, we'll have to get the details and see where it goes, but just so you're aware, we do have an award possibility of 600,000 for design that's for pavement replacement on basically the main loop of Madeline, Middle Road, out past the airport on the Big Bay, but not all the way out to the end. So yeah, construction projects, other than that, we'll see what happens with GG for our funding for this year. We're planning to bid out that piece of our section of County Highway M alongside of Bayfield is gonna bid a few miles of their County Highway M also, so. That's our plan for this year. As far as DOT work, they are gonna be doing 77 from 13 out to the Iron County line. And then culverts on the south end of 13 from Morse Corner down to the county line. So that'll be under construction. That one will be under construction all summer. I don't believe they plan any detours, although they were talking about one through Butternut. I haven't heard what they decided on that. But it'll be, I'm assuming lights with lane closures while they change culverts out. So.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get around Butternut, isn't it? It'd be hard to detour around through that.
Is there is that the end of it? Anybody have any questions for Matt?
You didn't mention McCarthy Creek Bridge, was that this year?
Oh,
or
that
next year?
is, I did forget about McCarthy Creek. McCarthy Creek Bridge is bid out. Larson Construction
Okay.
has that job, and I haven't heard when they start. I'm thinking they'll be starting in May or June to
Mhm.
replace
So that
that.
is a goal. yeah.
It is a go, yes. Thank you.
That's down by Glidden?
No, that's on GG,
GG.
about halfway between Clam Lake and Mellon.
Okay, yeah.
And in your meeting tomorrow, it may or may not be mentioned that there is a substantial increase in revenue that the state has projected, as in I was listening to that Zoom for the county. Any of you guys do the county Zoom in on Mondays at 11 o'clock? Well, anyway, I usually try to listen to what they're projecting. God dang, I don't have the numbers here. A substantial amount of money because of just general more spending, economy, whatever. So there's gonna be a budget surplus, and of course, the counties association is gonna be looking to get their piece of the pie as far as possible transportation increases and such out of that, so it's fairly fresh info.
Yeah, that's opposite of what I've been hearing. Everything, I mean, this DOT or state, I said the state budget was set last July for 2 years. And everything I keep hearing on our end is the next budget's gonna be really tight for the state for funding. They don't know how they're gonna fund transportation for sure, so. I'm hoping you're right, and
Yeah,
that'd be a good thing.
let's all hope, county and townships and you.
I think you're talking about this current year as opposed to the next budget.
This year was well funded. This
Yeah.
budget was well funded.
Mhm.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
But I think they were talking about a substantial, what he was saying, substantial amount of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
extra
increased
money.
state revenue, yeah.
yeah. They did fund transportation well. There's increases to GTA. There's increases to LRIP. There's increases to ARIP. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's increases to RMA dollars, so.
That's never happened to me. You get to the end of the year and have more money than I thought. That never has happened yet.
You're got a few years yet, oh. We hired a new mechanic, another mechanic, to start putting that new truck together.
Yes, we
How's
did.
that coming?
Well, it's about half built.
You got all the parts?
I believe we have almost everything, yeah. There might be a few things missing, but the bulk of it is here. They're working on it when they can, between working on plow trucks, the other ones,
Okay, so
current
both,
ones.
when there's a lack time, both mechanics are working on it,
I don't know that I've seen both work on it yet,
cause there hasn't been any lack.
there hasn't been enough time, yeah. One or the other.
Now, this
will
is
be
the
on it
two
at
thousand
once.
25 that they're putting together.
They are putting together the 25 truck, yes. The 26 truck will be showing up here in the next couple months and we'll be starting on the next one, so.
Any more questions for Matt? Yeah, I guess moving on. Town of Marengo Road Maintenance Agreement.
So yeah, I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at what I sent out in the packet. Town of Marengo approached me, well, Steve Walston is the chair. It's been a while, a year or two back. Just discussing the possibility of the county taking over the road maintenance in the town of Marengo. It's come a little bit since then. At that point, I did talk to Dan and just say, hey, look, this was brought up. Should we look into it further? And he was in agreement that we should research it further. It kind of sat for a while. This fall, the state come out with a innovation grant. And this is Jenny Stevens. She helps the town, I don't know, grant writing, doing all kinds of stuff. Miscellaneous. She's not
Electronic dirty work.
she's not an elected official on the board, but she does a lot of their legwork for them, put it that way. So her and I have been talking. I've met 3 times now, twice here and once at the town meeting with the town board supervisors, discussing it. Just looking at a contract, basically somewhat like our contract we have with DOT, our RMA contract. We're looking at a $250,000 a year contract for us to take over all the grading, mowing, patching, snow plowing, all the maintenance items. We would work to keep it within that $250,000. If we were to need to go over that, it'd be all billed at time, material, labor, labor, equipment, materials. If we were to need to go over that, we would have to get permission from the town board to exceed the $250,000.
Is that what we have with the town of Jingles?
We do not have any formal agreement. We just plow for them. And it's all at time, labor, equipment and materials. They have a private company person that does their grading and mowing. We do patching at their request. We do some boom mowing at their request, that sort of thing, but we don't have a set budget dollar amount. So with this, we would need to, well, the town currently has one full-time employee. We would need to take that employee into our department. And then they have a fleet of equipment, and we've been discussing it. We would take on their fleet of equipment on a lease to own basis. One thing with that is we were talking a 3 or 5 year contract at first, and we've kind of settled on a positive, probably a 5 year if we were to move forward. At first, my thought was I would look at their fleet, we would have it evaluated for value. We would pay them a portion every hour that we use that machine. We would pay the town a percentage of the state published rate, and be kind of a lease. We would pay it off till we owned it. So I was thinking, you know, we might take some of the fleet, we might not take others, the town could sell it. They came back with, their concern was, okay, after the 5 years, you know, does the county decides we want out of the contract, or the town decides they want out of the contract, they might not have any equipment left. So my thought then changed to, I mean, kind of the same, we would take all of their equipment, we would pay them at that rate, you know, agreed upon rate for the 5 years. I mean, if we paid it off, it would become ours to the agreed upon price. But if it's not paid off at that time, if either party backs out, the town would take their equipment back, and we just paid for the usage of it. That way they wouldn't have to per se start from scratch again. You know, it's looking at it from, you know, why do we want to do this, or why does the town want to do this? I can talk to it a little bit, maybe Jenny can. You know, there's a benefit in economies of scale, right? They have one employee, you know, how much work does that one employee get done on his own? I mean, if he's hauling gravel, how efficient is he, whatever he's doing, we can come in, you know, if it rains and the roads are right for grading, we could come in with 3 graders and grade many miles a day. Hit it when the weather's right. We can haul gravel with 6-8 trucks, and in a couple of days do what they do in a long time. Just economies of scale. Also, we have direct supervision over our employees on a daily basis. We have our patrol superintendent who directs the work, gives the orders, makes sure that it's work is getting done, I guess. There's, you know, a benefit to the county. It's revenue for us. There's no doubt we bring in revenue at 250,000. You know, an employee is around $100,000 for us for a wage package and all the benefits, health insurance. So that would leave 150,000 a year for equipment and materials. I think it would work out well for both parties. You know, you think about a towns, I've thought about this for years. The town, Marengo's a little bit bigger than a regular 6 square mile town, but your average 6 square mile town, is it really worth it for them to have a garage, you know, a grader, a loader, a dump truck, all this equipment for their 6 square miles? It's probably not the best use of taxpayer dollars in all reality. This is happening, and southern counties do it a lot more than in the northern counties already. Bill,
Would the county take over use of the garage or ownership of the garage?
that is not our plan at this time, no.
Okay, so if they submit to us a plan as far as what they're comfortable with doing, then the committee has to okay it,
So,
and then
So-
go to the county board.
yes, so what I'm looking for today is, you know, the committees, should we pursue this further? For one thing, Jenny's writing a grant that is due in March 31st, this innovation grant, which the town would get extra dollars for, possibly if they were awarded, for being innovative and combining services is what it's about. So we need a for sure decision before in March date, but so like I said, I've talked to Dan about this. He's on board. You know, I want the committee's approval to move forward with the negotiations or not, you know, I mean, if you guys don't feel we should, then it would be dropped, but if you're comfortable with it, we would move forward with negotiations with the town. You know, the town board has to be eventually vote on it, and also the county board then to approve the contract.
Okay, is
Maybe
there,
Jenny would want to say, what did I miss?
You covered a lot.
Mhm.
Good stuff. I mean, there's definitely a lot of benefit to this. One of the priorities that the innovation grant has is any transfer of services for emergency or fire department services between any municipalities is prioritized over any other types of transfer services. So we don't qualify for that, but we can certainly say how the town would benefit from transferring our transportation services in terms of emergency services and fire, like, it's the economies of scale, like, I think definitely these two snowstorms that we've had this year are a good demonstration for me, at least. I don't know about other people, that this might really be a good opportunity for the town. It's, you know, having extra grant dollars would, you know, everyone would want extra grant dollars if you got it. And I think some of the things that we would look to use those dollars for are road improvements, some paving projects, maybe, culvert replacements, things like that. The agreement, this is kind of a little backwards in terms of how grants normally work. What I mean is, normally you get the grant and then you sign all the agreements. In this case, in order to get the grant, we have to have the agreement signed with the county before we submit it on March 31st. So, because they want to know that this is actually going to happen, and then we have to maintain our costs within a certain, within 115% of the baseline year, which would be 2025. And I think that we can do that going forward. So that's a benefit for everyone. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the documents that were sent out, if there's anything I can address specifically.
This is the first I've seen of them, but I think the whole concept is a good idea, because you, if I understood you correctly, the town is going to actually be calling what work needs to be done when. That,
The town, we would meet, myself or Kim would plan to attend their monthly board meetings and have a work plan every month of what they would like to see done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
does anybody have any questions?
Well, the cap was what, 250? So, and you said you're gonna spend 100 grand on
Employee, yes.
so. 150 ain't a lot of money to buy gravel, buy culverts,
Yeah,
replace
I mean,
signs. I think back at last year or the year before, we spent 100 grand on gravel in our little town.
okay, that's a lot.
I can maybe talk a little bit to that, because I know what the town's budget looks like, and this past year, we lost one of our full-time employees, and so last year's budget wasn't as high as it was before, but 250 is approximately what we've been spending annually for transportation services, so it isn't really that much difference. It's just kind of a shift for us.
And we have been fairly aggressive on the gravel, and every year.
Yeah.
Also, we've been,
You're not on the town board though.
I am not.
Okay, Jim is.
Jim is.
Yep. And yeah, I'll add a little bit there. Yeah, we did unfortunately lose an employee. That junior employee was gonna take over the town's intention when the current full-time employee was gonna plan on retiring in 2 years, 2 to 4 years. And that wasn't working out. And well, the last couple winters have been fairly mild, so we thought we could get by. There hasn't been, we hadn't advertised, but there's not a lot of qualified help out there. And it's just basically the snowstorms that have occurred this year here where we only have the one full-time and we did have a part-time call-in, but with only one employee, there's limited opportunities for his time off. And that came issue right after Christmas with the ice, that he was on vacation and the road should have been sanded a day before they were, not only for safety reasons, but less telephone calls that I had to take. So the advantage with merging of the services, like Matt explained, the economics, the labor pool availability, and really the county's plow routes are basically around the town of Marengo, whether it be down GG or County C, they'll be able to make it work. I think fairly good, so that's just my 2 cents on it.
It's nice to have the backup for driving.
When you need it, yep, absolutely.
Does anybody have any further questions for Matt or?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Does the 250, does that include debt service on the existing equipment or no?
It does, no, that is not included on that. I mean, it's over and above the 250.
Okay.
They would be, if they have debt on their equipment, they
Yeah,
would be
we're still
responsible.
Yeah.
No further questions? Is there a motion one way or another?
I move we proceed with the recommendation that Matt.
With the town, working with the township?
Yep.
I'll second.
Seconded by Tom Reamer. Is there any further discussion?
Can we have a roll call vote?
Okay. Is there any further discussion? If not, can we have a roll call vote?
Call it Tom Trudeau,
Yes.
James Schultz,
Abstain?
Tom Reamer,
Yes.
Martin Vitek,
Yep.
William Metzinger.
Yes. Okay,
Thank you.
we appreciate you coming because that helps a lot.
Hey, Bill?
Yes? Yes,
Yeah,
Gary?
just a quick question. Go to the town?
You cut out there, Gary. Can you repeat that?
Oh, would the road tax go to the town?
Yes, they
Okay,
would still collect their
then the
road tax as they do, and they would pay us out of that road tax, yes.
Okay, and Matt, do you have a sense of how long it would take to plow all the town roads?
So our plan would be to, have that, basically would add that one employee. That employee would be in charge of plowing the town roads, but we have a route on County Highway C and also one on GG that could, after they make their first round, they could hop into the town for a couple hours, and then, if it's still snowing hard, they're gonna go back to our county routes, but they,
Sure.
maybe it's
Okay.
just one and done. They would do their route, and then they would all hop on, and I believe we could easily clean everything up in a day's time.
Does
Okay,
the
good.
town-
Thank you
does-
very.
Excuse me, Gary, does the town plow private driveways?
They do not.
Okay.
So when Steve brought this to me a couple years ago, they did at that time, and I told him, there's no discussion until driveways are out of the question. We cannot, this county cannot plow private driveways.
Good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on, if there's no further discussion on that, to USDS lease.
So as you all know, the county,
That's Pat wants to speak on that also.
Yes, I'll give a little background. The county had a lease with USPS for a site right here in front of our yard. The county signed the lease last, end of October, early November. I don't remember the exact date of 24. The highway department moved forward. At that time, the lease specified that we needed to have water, sewer, power to the site within 1 month of signing. County board signed. And so in November of last year, we proceeded to provide all of that. Then the post office did not sign right away. It came back. President Trump was elected. They had to remove one little part of the contract before USPS could sign it, and it had nothing to do with the contract. It was I don't know what it was. There's nothing to do with anything really. So USPS signed the lease in May of 25. And then, I don't know, a couple months later, they said, we are backing out of the contract. They weren't interested anymore. We proceeded to put a little pressure on through elected officials. For one thing, what the question was, how could they back out? The contract didn't allow for backing out for 5 years. The county elected not to pursue that, I guess, real hard, except through the elected officials. They came back with a proposal. They would like to sign a new lease again, with the provision that we move the septic system. They didn't like the septic system location where I put it, I guess. I mean, it was, it's kind of in the front, they want it moved to the side. So now the question is does the county want to sign another contract with them? We'll have another approximately $5,000 of cost to move that septic. We can use the tank. We're hoping we can save some of the piping and everything underneath. Might have to get a little bit more sand, septic sand in it, and we can do the work ourselves. It's one of those things. It's as a public service, it's the area around here is lacking the post office, and we all feel it in our mail service in the area. I think, I'm not real happy with how the post office handled the agreement. I mean, we had an agreement and how a lease signed, how could they back out? Should we sign another one or not? I don't know that for sure, but I look at it from a public service standpoint that's my job as public service, to serve our residents, and I guess if it costs us another 5,000 to do that, I mean, I'm willing to do that, I guess. If I would say that I'm willing to move that septic system when I see their boots on the ground. I'm not gonna move a teaspoon of dirt until they're actually showing me that they're actually gonna do their part and move in. Then I would move that. We're gonna have a cost in there, extra cost. The lease, as it's stated, in the 5-year, if they backed out after 5 years, we would, maybe break even. We might be a little bit in of a loss. It'd be really close. If they stay for the full 25-year contract, we're back up to that, 200,000 plus in income from it, and we'd be at about $40,000 of cost into it. So it'd be a net gain for the department. But there is a risk, I guess.
I was gonna say that if you continue the way you are, there's no chance of recovering your costs.
Correct.
If we do a different lease, there is a chance
Mhm.
of recovering your costs.
Yep.
Pat, go ahead. Do you want to speak, Pat?
Yeah, I'll unmute it there. Going back to the first part of what Matt said, when the contract was modified after the inaugural last year. The reason for those modifications is every agency was required to remove all DEI language. So they struck that, but it didn't have any material bearing on the contract with the county. The 5-year part, their standard process is to have, you can call it a 10-year lease, but after the 5 years, the Postal Service can renew for the next 5 years at their sole discretion. And the other part of it that's in there is they like leases and it's standard is that they can give 30 days notice and go. So the 5 years for all practical purposes is meaningless because it's just really 2 5-year leases and they have sole discretion to continue with it. But they also can leave with 30 days notice. So my grandfather in Mason built the Mason Post Office in 1961 when he was postmaster. So we've been dealing with the post office a long time. And we're used to, this format, this drill, this process. And the only time you have any power to negotiate is when either renewing a lease or entering into a new lease. Otherwise, you are going to get absolutely nowhere. So Matt, I guess my first question to you on this would be, when you put the septic tank where you did, was that what the Postal Service approved at the time the tank was put there?
They had not had a site plan. I guess we worked with zoning and that's where they wanted to see it, so that's where we put it. And how I thought it should sit, I guess it would have worked just fine. They have since submitted a site plan, and I don't necessarily agree it's the best site plan for the site. It will work, but it builds it up higher toward the highway end, so it'll be a steeper slope. It'd be hard to mow or maintain, I guess, how they want to do it.
So let me see if this summary is accurate. We entered into a contract, meaning the county, we signed on our end. They wanted sewer power within 30 days. And at that time had not provided a site plan, meaning they did not specify where they wanted the septic system. So you used your judgment and put it in what you thought would be a place that made sense. They since come back. So we followed our end at that point, signed it, put in the utilities. They come back with a site plan after the fact and now want it moved. So my take on this would be, on smaller post offices like this one, like Mason, they don't really want to monkey around too much with the little stuff, little amounts of money, a little this and that. They just say, here, we want it this way. And most small post office owners, most community members are more than willing to work with the Postal Service in good faith because, well, we all want Postal Service. And in fact, when Highbridge closed, they started running more routes and mail out of Mason. So the post office my mom owned is getting beaten more than otherwise. And they know that we are not going to renew the lease with them when it's up in 2.5 years. Either they need to offer a lease that's what I call more attractive so we can actually sell it. We can't even sell that thing right now because the lease is so unattractive. So we've had enough. It's like, we're getting old and it's time from them either to pay up so we can sell it or they need to go. But the point of that is when people tell the Postal Service no, they really have no choice but to either pony up and be more reasonable or find somewhere else. They clearly want to find somewhere in Highbridge because they need building space to run routes out of. And they also don't want to keep paying carriers to run, from places like Mason or Grandview all the way over to Highbridge and Ringo because they got to pay that mileage. It's not cost effective for them to not have a presence in Highbridge. It's just more expensive. So given the history of this, my personal feeling is we tell the Postal Service the summary, we signed the contract, we put the utilities in according to our best judgment. We were not provided a site plan. If you want it moved, we will enter into a separate contract where we will move it where you want according to the site plan, but we're going to recover our full costs. And that contract is such that once we do the work, that contract has to be enforceable. So if they want to try stiffing us, we can take them to court and win without question. So we'll move it, but they pay for it. And there's a written contract specifically to pay for that. And then we go from there. they'll pay it. Because it's a heck of a lot cheaper than trying to go somewhere else and getting somebody else to start over, and they need it.
Do you have any further things to add, Pat?
You know, sometimes people and companies and organizations need to be told, no, I don't accept your offer. Here's what I think is reasonable. And with the Postal Service, you know, again, we all want to, you know, think of it as public service. It's good for somewhere to have it. And my family in Mason, they've always signed leases that were way too reasonable because we wanted Mason to have a post office and, you know, a number of family members work there. But you get yourself in a spot where you look at it and you go, this doesn't make sense, you know, for whoever owns it. In this case, the county's got this site and thus the taxpayers. So we entered in this good faith. And, you know, if this were private business, we would have never signed a lease that says they can walk in 30 days, especially before they get there, and we recoup absolutely nothing on our investment. Private business would never do this. And so in this case, we entered into it in really good faith, did our end. And if they want to change after the fact because they didn't provide a site plan at the time that they wanted these utilities in, you just tell them, you're going to pay that and we want a separate contract, then we'll get it done. And come, you know, spring or early summer, you can get your building in there. And I think if they are clear that we're firm on that, I would be surprised if they go somewhere else. But they're going to find somewhere in Highbridge. And 5,000 more on this is small compared to having somebody else start over.
So would you support, you know, in that first, you know, the lease agreement is for 6720 a year for from month 7 to 66. So the first 5 years, if we were to increase that approximately $5,000 to cover that cost, you would support.
Now you're there's two different parts that we're dealing with. You know, they base their lease rates on what the market value was there. So that rent is based on one set of data. Getting a site prepped is another piece of what they do. And depending on how far up the ladder this stuff goes, some of these people are just, here's what I'm throwing out at, you know, my owners or places I rent. And they really have this way of saying, take it or leave it, and making you feel compelled like there's no discussion possible. Which brings me back to the only time you can negotiate is when a lease is coming up or it's a new one. So they failed to, I would write a letter saying, here's the history. We signed the contract. You wanted utilities in 30 days. No site plan was provided. We put the utilities where we deemed best using our judgment. Your site plan came later. If you want to change, we'll do that, but you're going to have to pay for that. And then the balance of the lease will be honored.
Do you think they would go for, you know, a $5,000 payment at month 1 and then honor the lease payments as agreed on? That way they'd put up the money, I mean, first before we even started, and then we would have more of a legal footing if they want to back out later because they paid for it.
There's one part that's trying to find a site to put a building, and they're looking at costs and funding and process for that. And then there's another part of them that looks at what's reasonable rent. I think if you keep the site separate, meaning we'll move it, but we need 5,000, that's probably simpler. But you could propose several options and let them decide which one they want to go to. But we want to be careful that we don't spend the 5,000 and then they still walk if they have a clause in the master contract that says they can go in 30 days.
The termination agreement does not, in the original contract and this one, does not give them anything. I'll read it to you. It's Article 5. The Postal Service may terminate this lease at any time after month 67 by giving 30 days written notice to the landlord. And I believe that's how the original contract read. So they didn't have any legal standing to walk away from the lease last year. I mean, they really didn't. I mean, but they did.
But they did. They didn't sign it is why, Matt.
They did sign it. Yeah, we do have a signed lease from May.
Is Dan aware of that?
Yes, he is.
But is it the one after they took out the DEI language?
Yes, yep. I believe it was in March, the county board revisited it and said to re-sign and I have a copy of a signed postal agreement from May
May 23rd.
23rd.
That they did
Yes.
sign it?
They
Okay,
did.
Dan had thought they had not signed it.
Yeah, he had thought that I don't know if he didn't remember or didn't see it at one of the meetings last summer, but we did have a signed contract, yes.
So I would propose, that they pay that up front, and you could give them several ways of doing that. I assume there's no one from the Postal Service on here. I will also tell you that the rent they're offering is relative to Mason, which has a building that's like 960 square feet in a parking lot, whatever. The rent they're offering the county on this for a site with no building is essentially the same as what they're offering Mason with the building, where we have the maintenance responsibilities and upkeep for the building and the taxes and the insurance. So when I first saw this lease from Highbridge, it really spoke to how much we've been shorted in Mason, because we've never since 1961 said, no, we're not taking the first offer, except in 77 or 78, where Dad wanted another $100 a month because of inflation back then. But, relatively speaking, it's a pretty generous offer. So I wouldn't lose sight of that, besides the benefits to having Highbridge have a post office again.
Yes. So this committee needs to make a recommendation. I believe Dan wanted to put it on the county board next week. How to proceed.
So Matt, the one other thing that you might want to consider is they have to snowplow these post offices, and they contract that out. And the person doing the snowplowing for the Mason post office gets paid. It's actually in our lease, but the Ashland Postmaster has been covering it because it's ridiculous. But that person gets paid just to snowplow, about half of what we get for renting the building and the property.
Yeah.
If you can negotiate adding the snowplowing in because it's so convenient for you, they pay awfully good for the snowplowing. It's in the thousands per year. Like, you can go over 3 with Mason.
Sure.
That's another revenue stream, and it's awfully good money. And you could probably get them, the mowing too. They're supposed to mow at Mason, they don't. So I take a push mower once in a while. You might as well, now is the time to ask. And
Sure.
if they're convinced you're firm and it's reasonable, you're much more likely to get a yes out of them.
Before we take any action, has our attorney looked at this?
I don't know that.
Okay. I think it's rushing it to get it on the county board meeting next week, the 27th. I think that's a rush till we know what's going on, because right now we don't really know what the post office is willing to accept.
Well, I mean, the county board, you guys, if you want to put, add some of this stuff to it, and the county board could authorize the signing of it with, whether it's increased dollars, snow plowing, mowing, what you guys would like to see changed on the contract. They do seem to be, eager to get it. This came in like early December, and we didn't have a meeting scheduled, and he's asked me a couple times since about it. So they do have interest in getting something going, so it might help our bargaining position, as Pat said.
I think Pat's suggestion of working snow plowing in there somehow gives you a negotiating level. Yeah.
So, Matt, I would suggest, before it comes to the board, that you and Dan work on this with the Postal Service Highway Committee, because you've got various things to consider here. they definitely want to get something in Highbridge, for various good reasons, including they know that they might have to find space for somewhere else in Mason. They already know they might have to put in a building in Mason. So they don't want to lollygag too bad on Highbridge. So you and Dan and Highway, and then when that's all settled, then back to the board would be
Okay.
my preference.
I'm fine with that if that's what the committee would like.
Does the committee have any thoughts or any further questions?
Well, I didn't think you had a chance in, where this ever coming back to talk about, kind of like what Marty, I think, was saying there, get a second chance at it with some of the proper language. I think it, should go forward, yeah.
Yeah.
But I really do think, I would rather see them wait instead of rushing it before we're ready to get what we want, or at least offer that. Because, if you go past something that's kind of vague, then there's so many loopholes. But this way, if you could narrow down what you wanna see.
Mhm.
Are we, we're gonna propose an actual lease at the county border, or just giving you guys a negotiating?
Well, I mean, it's what you guys, what you guys want. I mean, what Pat's saying kind of makes sense. Put it on Dan and myself to negotiate with them.
Yeah.
And bring it back to you guys again
Yeah.
for further consideration.
I personally be in favor of that, if you give somebody the right to negotiate, and then it comes back to the highway committee and see what they negotiated.
I would make a motion to that effect.
And I'll second that.
There's been a motion by Marty, seconded by Jim Schultz. Is there any further discussion?
What's the motion again?
To give Dan and
Matt?
Dan and Matt the authority to negotiate the lease.
Okay, anybody have any questions about the motion? Okay. You want a roll call vote?
You don't think you need it?
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And then this would be, whatever they decide will be brought back to the next, or to the,
We'll come back to this committee.
we'll come back to this committee. Okay. Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, thank you, Pat.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Moving on, is there anything with the comprehensive plan that needs to be discussed?
I have not heard anything talked on transportation yet. I don't know if any of you have. They asked us to keep this on the agenda for
Right,
now, but I don't have an update with it.
At the last meeting, they didn't do nothing.
Okay.
I said I was there.
Mhm.
I just wish they would do something with that highway between down by Butternut, because that is rough.
Well, they're gonna make it rougher this summer. They're gonna
Well,
put a bunch of culverts in there.
well, I'm just saying, it was like, oh my God.
The contract does specify they have to pave the culverts every Friday.
Oh,
They can't
okay,
leave them gravel through the weekend, so.
okay.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah, that's a plus.
You remember this? This was bad. Yes.
Okay, is there anything, okay, there's nothing on that. Is there any future agenda items that need to be brought up? Okay. Did we ever hear back as far as the towns and maybe the village deciding if they wanted to impose a tax for
Bridge aid,
bridge aid?
we're still gonna working on that. There's a towns association meeting supposedly gonna be next week. Steve has to set that up yet, but. I was gonna bring it there to talk to the towns further and then work with the towns more after that point, so.
Is that something we'd want to put on the future agenda?
Yes, it will need to be on the future agenda.
Okay. Do you think this post office business here will be Ready for the next meeting?
Well, our next going on a regular schedule would be February 9th. I don't think that's probably doable.
Okay,
I don't know if we want to wait until March 9th. Is that too far out then? What, or do we shoot for March 9th and if needed, we could schedule one later in February if necessary?
what does everybody wanna do? That seemed,
Sounds good to me.
Well, the post office probably don't wanna wait too long. They're
Yeah,
pushing to get
They are
done.
pushing, yeah.
So,
Yeah, we could schedule something for February 23rd and try to get it done for that. I'm open to that.
You can always change it, you know.
Tentative.
do you wanna have a meeting on the 9th of February or not, or what, or?
I don't think we would probably be ready yet.
the 23rd will give you a month.
Yeah, that'd give us a month, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you just wanna wait till March? And do it March 9th?
Well, we might be better off February. I might take that first week of March off. I'm debating it. My wife goes to school and she has that week off, so we might go somewhere warm that week. I don't know yet.
Well, let's do it the 23rd. I think you guys can do something in a month.
Okay.
To get.
Okay,
February 23rd?
okay,
February 23rd, okay.
February 23, 9 AM here.
9 AM. Is there anything that you think that needs to be on the future agenda items? Okay. If not, then we schedule a meeting date for February 23rd.
At 9 o'clock or in the,
9 o'clock.
okay.
Is there any further business that we have? We only have a couple meetings before the next election. So. Is that
Coming up.
Yeah, that's coming up real quick.
Gotta get,
Oh.
take care of business before.
Right, if there's some project that we needed to. Look at or complete and who knows what the highway committee is gonna look like next time. I know we're gonna have some changes.
One change for sure,
One for sure, yep.
unless we do it right in.
Okay, and then if there's no further business, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, Jim.
Jim Schultz makes a motion to adjourn, seconded by Tom Trudeau. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Yeah, I was